All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. The picture of what this NFL season could be is certainly coming into focus right now, meaning it's time to place your bets for the playoffs future markets. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock. Coming off a couple of weeks where I have absolutely been in the thick of it, folks. Finally tied the knot, married my wife, Katie, who's alongside me for longer than the 8 years that this particular program has been on the air. And we also had a great weekend up at Pocono Raceway a few weeks ago, covering all the action there from a NASCAR betting perspective on the back road. And also some big things happening right here for IBT as a whole. Of course, Steve Lawson, Tyler Bradley back with you to break down all the news and break down the bets as well. And what began, gentlemen, as a company that was dedicated to bringing that feel-good perspective to fantasy sports, to sports betting really, is now beginning a new exciting chapter. Yes, we have officially sold out. IBT is joining the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. It started with working with Tyler and FSAN back in 2022 when I took a heck of a gamble. I purchased an event called Draft Night Out at the Fantasy Football Expo, our big live in-person draft party. That sponsorship turned into a partnership, which turned into a friendship, which now turned into an acquisition. And with all of our lives at IBT continuing to evolve and working closely with this FSAN team over the past few years, it became clear that if we are going to continue to grow this, if we're going to continue to give the IBT family great content on a weekly basis and continue to bring more events to the people, we had to team up with the team over at FSAN. So Tyler Bradley, my friend, great to have you on the show tonight, but more importantly, great to be on board here at FSAN, man.
Dude, you know I'm a fan. In betweens always. You see the hat, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
See it? Like, yeah, sure. The patch is on the chest, but you see the hat. Like, I met Seth early in the game. Great people. The IBT team, great people. Steve, love what you bring every single week. And we've met several years at the expo and interacted. And when you're creating this content and you're doing it, like, you do it for the love of the game, right? But also you want to do it with great people.
Yes.
And that was never like the question. Like when we started interacting with IBT, it was the same mindset, the same mentality. Like, we wanted to create good content. We want to have good vibes. We want to build community. And it was a big deal for us. And so there was always that synergy. Mm-hmm. And as we've grown, as you've grown, it just made sense for us to come together and make something that is monstrous. So if you're watching out there, make sure you lock in, look at the sub channels down below. Like, we've got football, we've got baseball, we've got basketball, racing, golf, and Steve going to be heading up over there, the entertainment side. So we're going to be bringing all kinds of content with the same vibes you've loved and experienced with IBT. And we're going to be doing that over at FSAN. And Seth, I can't say moreover how glad we are to have you guys as part of the team, and we're excited to continue to build. We're 2 years in and the growth has been astronomical. Thank you guys so much that are watching the show, for continuing to support, for continuing to hit the like button, for continuing to hit the subscribe button. It makes so much of a difference. And we're just going to keep grinding. FSAN, sport, like, we're all going to keep grinding. And, the In Between Fantasy Football podcast is going to come over to FSAN. It's still going to be available for you every single week.
Yep.
Plus more shows, more content, and hopefully you can get your fill, and hopefully we help you win a lot of leagues. We help you win a lot of bets, and it's feel good and good times. Come join over at the community too.
Absolutely, my friend, and have fun doing it, right? And from the moment that you and I met, both being, kids who didn't come from a lot and certainly put a lot into not only our careers here in the fantasy sports industry, but just our relationships with people on and off the screen and what goes into this. Like, that was something that really attracted me to FSAN, is that these are real people. They have real stories and they give real advice. And that's always what we've been about here at In Between Media. It's always tough, right? When I've put my life and my heart and my soul and so many hours into IBT. It's led me to a great career at Fantasy Pros, and I'm so blessed to live And it's also led me to now joining the FSAN team, which I couldn't be happier about. I'm so blessed to have met these great people like Elliot and Kyle, who followed me from my days working at the student newspaper at IUP, the Pen, to meeting people across the internet, whether that was Eric, whether that was Trash, whether that was people like Steven Lawson here. So many great people, Jake Perry and Mike and Keith, all the golf guys over there. It'll be really great to have us all and continue to work together. And now that we're linking up with people like Brian and people like Corey and Tyler and Dan and everyone over at the FSAN team, is going to be easier for us to bring more higher quality content and more content as a whole to you guys. And with that said, we're going to throw a graphic up for the YouTube audience, just so you know where everything is cycling now moving forward. The In Between Fantasy Football podcast will, of course, still have its separate playlist on the on the FSAN Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel. Of course, still we'll have an audio project as well, but that will be part of the bigger FSAN Fantasy Football Advice Network channel. And then the Back Road, that will now headline the FSAN Fantasy Racing Advice Network. And then the 19th Hole, that is, of course, on the FSAN Fantasy Golf Advice Network YouTube channel. And then what that means for the future of In Between Media, folks. So if you've been a fan of what we've been doing over there, specifically in the entertainment streaks, well, this is great news for you, because now In Between Media will be only a place for entertainment and entertainment betting advice. Yes, Popcorn Root Beer, Steve, your child, your baby, the show that you've created from nothing and yelled at me for years and years. Hey, we got to do it. We got to get this show off the ground. That will, of course, be one of the headliner shows over there at In Between Media. And then we will have a new show coming to you very soon as well, that's going to focus more on the betting standpoint. But Steve, talk a little bit more about that entertainment side of things, because it's something we always talk a little pop culture here on the IBT podcast, but you guys really get to expand over there. So talk about what we kind of have coming up over there, and your thoughts on this entire merger from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people right now that are watching this program that have been dedicated for years, waiting for the day that someone came in and got rid of me. And unfortunately, I am like a cockroach, and not even a merger can get rid of me. As a matter of fact, you're going to see more of me, which is just fantastic to me. More of that, the guy on the left being too emotional and people getting mad at my takes, and then inevitably having
ACC bias.
My ACC bias, my Florida State loyalty, all that stuff. But I'm here, and I'm so excited to continue with the growth that IBT and now FSAN is going to hopefully get to see as we partner up here. And then on the entertainment side, I am so excited that our team is growing over there, because so many people have supported Jake, Trash, and myself as we grew that. But now we're bringing in someone like Brian, who wants to talk so much like movie, pop culture, TV. And that's the big change, right? Is that the team has gotten bigger, and now we get to pivot into new and exciting content, not just doing something movie related, but we can have dedicated movie shows, dedicated weekly television shows, dedicated betting shows. So throughout the week what you're going to get. Popcorn and Root Beer is not the be all end all of the show anymore. It's no longer an only child. It's going to have siblings, and we're bringing that new show to you. So far, we're kind of working on, we haven't officially named it yet, but it does feel like Between the Screens seems to be the winning
cat out of the bag. All right.
Listen, you know what? You want me to talk about it? I want the people to be as hyped as I am. I think, number one, that's a great name. Number two, it preserves the in-between, life, and we still keep moving forward. That is going to be your place where Brian, myself, and some others talk to you about betting. We are also going to get into the TV shows that release weekly and help you guys navigate some of the more complex and exciting shows that come down. And then we are, of course, going to do our movie breakdowns, our pop culture breakdowns, everything you can think of in the entertainment world. We got it over at In Between Media. That's our new home. We are now kind of like kings of our own little castle. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're kind, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like we're the king of the North. Like, we got it. Like, we're handling things on our end, and we can do that because we know that y'all got it locked down on the other end at FSAN. So to me, this is a beautiful partnership, because IBT is not disappearing and FSAN isn't turning into something it's not, right? These are two entities that were absolutely meant to be together, that go together hand in hand. We fit together. We're a lock and key, right?
Yep.
We're two sides of the same coin. So
It's
what
a
on earth
love
will we do?
story, baby.
Yeah.
Just say yes.
Yeah, like listen, what will, don't fight it, right? Like this is what it is, and this is only going to bring positive change to the shows,
Yep.
to the programs that our
Yep.
fans have loved. I'm hyped.
Yep. Completely agree with you guys. So excited for everything we have moving forward, including the rest of the show. We'll get right into the betting picks here in a second, but a real quick reminder, easiest way to support us, subscribe right now to the brand new home of the IBT podcast. Yes, the FSAN's Fantasy Football Advice channel. We have a lot of great other shows right here in particular, whether that's the Fantasy Forecast, if you're into redraft, the Dynasty Pulse for all your Dynasty needs, Too Much Best Ball, and From the Forum. That is Tyler's live show every single week, breaking it down Q&A style, interactive, getting there with you folks live in the chat. So we appreciate all of you guys subscribing, supporting the program as a whole. Thank you so much for coming along for this ride and helping us reach our dreams and helping us continue to set more and more lofty goals as we move forward. But with that said, boys, the only thing I want to do for the rest of the show is cash some bets, baby. Fire it up. A little between bets coming at you.
Between bets. Between bets.
All right, it's between bets. We're firing up to make or to miss the playoffs. Oh wow, he's got some big dollar bills. That must be that must be my money from when I bought that nice Toyota Tundra from you a couple months, Tyler. You must be still sitting on that under the pillow, huh?
No, that's the secret 100 I stashed in my wallet that my wife doesn't know about.
That's what you got to do out here. I have a buddy who hopefully his wife doesn't listen to this podcast. She doesn't even know this guy was invested in GameStop a couple years ago. Ooh, baby. Oh, baby. she doesn't, what she doesn't need to know, she doesn't need to know, right? That's what he always says. So, Tyler, I do want to come to you first. So with your first bet for a team to make the playoffs, who's one team that you are thinking about investing in here when it comes to a season-long standpoint, just to get to the postseason, brother?
Yeah. So first of all, if I'm making a bet, one thing that I try to make sure there's always safe bets in minus money. I always want to try to shoot for something I feel like leans into the plus money side. And so to me, that it's Jacksonville. You get Jacksonville Jaguars plus 105 DraftKings to make the playoffs. I think this team has a lot of potential. I think they've developed weapons. I think that bringing in, a couple receivers completely changed the game. Liam Cohen's second year in building out that system. Mm-hmm. We started to see it felt like it took a minute, right? Like it felt like the system took a minute. They started slow, and towards the end of the season, they started really clicking. And so they have a good quarterback, no matter what you say. He gets the job done. They've got good receiver talent. They invested in the offseason in developing that team, getting a few more tools into that team. So I think, and then when you look at that division, it's not like that division is completely packed with a ton of hey, this is a lock. It's anybody's game. And I think Liam Cohen's has proved, whether it be in Tampa Bay, whether it be in Jacksonville last year, Jacksonville this year, that he can get the job done. And to me, that's where it starts. It's not just quarterback. It's not just like your premier players. It's who's at the helm. It's your coach, the people around them that's built. And I think that Jacksonville's done a good job, despite being an under budget team, to try to make a statement. And I think he's got them going in the right direction. This is something that I would be happy to take part in as an early season bet.
Yeah, I don't hate it, specifically because I was talking on the Betting Pros podcast last week with Andrew Erickson about when you talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver core, it might not be the best wide receiver core, but it might be the deepest. They go 4 deep, man, including BTJ, a guy like Jacoby Myers, who apparently unlocked the entire passing game is what Liam Cohen has said. And we saw it on the field with Trevor Lawrence being one of the best fantasy football quarterbacks, if not the best, after week 6 last season. So that's great to have him in the mix there. You got a guy like Parker Washington, former Penn State Nittany Lion guy who had a breakout season. And you got, Travis Hunter, number 2 overall pick from a year ago, who had his breakout game right before he suffers a season-ending injury in practice. And because of this team plays in this division, Tyler, to your credit there, they still have, even with a first-place schedule, they have the 11th easiest schedule right now in the NFL, according to Strength of Schedule. All 3 other AFC South teams also in that bottom 11, right? The Tennessee Titans with the 8th easiest, Houston Texans 7th easiest, Colts 5th easiest. So they'll certainly have some competition in that division, but it's not playing with great teams. So overall, I am with you here on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would like maybe a little bit better in the plus money number, but for a team who did it last year, and Trevor Lawrence, who now all of a sudden is showing he can boot, scoot, and boogie with the best of them and find his receivers downfield, I don't hate the play. Steve, let's get it out of the way here at the top, man. You have been, I know you're Boston's boy on this particular program, but you are certainly in love with the Bayou, my friend. You might be moving down there to Ragtag City.
Yeah, you know what? There's something about it. Maybe it's just the mystique of the Bayou. There's the magic that exists down there. But something about those Saints has me in a chokehold here this season. Plus 200 to make the playoffs for a team that was obviously coming on in the second half of the season. It was so clear that this was starting to click. Tyler Shuck is by no means an elite quarterback, but certainly competent in that system. They bring in Travis Etienne to be their star running back, but they haven't gotten rid of Kamara yet. Kamara's still there. They draft Jordan Tyson to pair up with Chris Olave. They still have Juwan.
That move, yeah.
Their defense looks pretty solid overall.
Cam Jordan coming back. You called that too. You called that a month ago.
Yeah. So, and then they have Kellen Moore, who I have stated I think is one of the top 3 play callers in the NFL. On the offensive side of the ball, I expect this offense to take a big step forward, and that division is not good, right? That's the other thing is, while I love what the Saints have done this offseason, I kind of hate what their division mates have done. The Falcons, I don't love any move that they've made, except for locking up Kyle Pitts long-term. The Buccaneers lose Mike Evans, don't address their defensive needs, don't really address their offensive needs. They lose Rashad White. So now I don't have a pass. Well, they bring in Kenneth Gainwell to replace Rashad White. But was Kenneth Gainwell more of a product of the fact that Aaron Rodgers couldn't push the ball downfield, so he kind of just dumped the ball off 10,000 times? Is Baker Mayfield going to want to use him to their best of their ability? And is that enough? Is that a play that's going to change the fortunes of the Buccaneers? I don't think so. And then the Panthers still have Bryce Young. That's the reality. They still have Bryce Young. They're stuck with that in that awful deal that they made years ago. They're still paying for their sins. And I think when it comes to, you're either a saint or you're a sinner, and I'll take the Saints in this situation.
Hey, I don't hate it, man. I think I will give a little bit more credit to the Panthers, who just they were a possession or two away from knocking off the Rams in that wild card round, right? Bryce Young showed a lot of gumption in that first round. But still, I do agree with you. I think this division is up for the grabs right now. And for the Saints at 2-1 to just make the playoffs, you've had a lot of Saint bets this season. You've drafted a lot of Saint players on your early fantasy football team. This might be my favorite way you've gotten invested so far, though. So I will give it to you there. Staying in this division for me, Atlanta Falcons to make the playoffs. I'm going on the no side, boys. Minus 213 at Kalshi. And a longtime friend, former co-host over at the Back Row, taught me a valuable lesson in life. You only pay the juice if you lose, right? So for me, I usually don't like to get this far in the juice. I usually don't bet anything minus past 175 at max. However, I think the Falcons are going to be such a disaster this season. This is one part of the ladder I'm starting with them. And then I'm going to continue this ladder to the point where it's also, I'm going to go under their season win total. And I also, you'll see an episode coming out soon, and placing a bet on them to make the first overall pick next year, because I think they could be that bad. This goes back to that old adage, Tyler. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any, right? And I think with Tua, Michael Penix Jr., these are also 2 of the guys that maybe at one point you have 2, and maybe 2 weeks from now you have 0, right? Because they can't stay out in the field. And to me, they lose their sack leader from a year ago, James Pierce, because of his off-the-field antics, to say the least. And then they didn't have a first-round pick this year to replace him because they used their 2026 pick to go up and get him last year with the Rams, right? So, and their answer at right tackle, Jawan Taylor of the Chiefs, a
He'll be
guy who's
starting
had
every possession 4th and 15.
Right? Yeah. He's going to have 1 million false starts. He's going to have 1 million holds. And 2 of their 3 starting wide receivers currently, Jahan Dotson, another former Penn State Nittany Lion, and Olamide Zaccheaus. Of course, they do have Zachariah Branch, but you can't have Dotson and Zaccheaus as 2 of your – you can have 1 of those guys starting. You can't have both of those guys in your starting lineup to me and be an NFL caliber team. And, like, I like Pitts. I like wrapping him up in a long-term deal. I like Drake London more than most. I also like Bijan Robinson, but I don't think those guys in a secondary – led by the Terrell brothers and Jesse Bates is going to be enough for them to even sniff the postseason. So for me, with them having tough opponents at home, Baltimore, Chicago, San Fran, Cincinnati and Spain, which counts as a home game, Kansas City, Detroit, they're not winning any of those games, I don't think, folks. It'd take a big upset. They're going to be nearly double-digit dogs in all those games. And ultimately, this is the team, 8 full seasons without making the playoffs. Aside from the Jets' longest drought in the NFL, this is a trash organization. And I think most of the books know it too, right? Like this is minus 250, minus 350 at most places. Well, the prediction market's minus 213 right now at Kalshi. And you can also gain a 3% interest throughout the year on that bet, whether you cash it out or not. So for me, that's my approach. I'm going to take a little interest instead of putting it here in the S&P 500, instead of putting it in a high yield interest savings account. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons to miss the playoffs here, minus 213 at Kalshi. Tyler, you can't hide your excitement as a stock guy yourself, my friend.
Yeah, dude. I'm like on the flip side, bro. Give me plus money. Like look. This is like I love you, brother. You're always there, but I don't think here's the crux of your argument. Like this,
okay.
This is where the Falcons find trouble. It's at quarterback. They find trouble at quarterback, but that defense was right outside top 10, a number 11 ranked defense. They came Pierce.
They lost Pierce,
but even then, look at their draft, bro. Like they took it like they went deep, like cornerback, linebacker, defensive tackle, linebacker, and then they went and got him another receiving weapon. So Zachariah Branch to me is so underviewed out of this class, and I don't know why. You know, like maybe it was because he was at Georgia. He's not garbage. There's no way you're sitting here going.
I think it's because he was a screen maven, right? And
I think it's because he stinks.
Okay, so Olamide Zaccheaus is so much better. We'll see. Let's play.
No. Branch.
I'm not saying what they have is better, right, but so but don't hold up a bag of garbage to me and then hold up another bag of garbage and be like, see, look how good it is. Like trash is trash.
The Falcons weren't that far out last season. Like it wasn't like it was like they were completely on the flip side of irrelevancy, and they invested in their defense hard last year. They invested in their defense this year. Mm-hmm. They got a couple other weapons. Sure, they brought in Tua for who knows what. But what I'm saying is, this is one of those. Like if I was gonna, like you talked about S&P 500 or whatever, if I was gonna take a high flyer, like the Falcons would be my high flyer to make the playoffs that nobody else is like thinking about. Like you're going to get significant plus money. Nobody else at the table. And then at the end, dude, I mean, even like you look at the transitions they made during the offseason, nothing was bad. It wasn't like they downgraded their team. Like, I don't know. I think that if the defense plays good, they had, it's the second year of that regime. Like I think that it's just it could be a better team. And that division feels like to me, it's so up for grabs. Like it's, well, I say that, yeah, I mean, it's completely up for grabs. You look at Saints, Tampa Bay, Falcons, like it's going to be by one game, probably one or two games. Yeah. Somebody's going to win the division. It's only going to be the division winner that makes the playoffs, and it's just anybody's game. So if I'm going to take a high flyer, especially if I'm not betting a ton of money, if it's like a $10 bet or a $20 bet, I'm not betting the house, like I'm going to rack up the hit. And I think that they have just as much potential to hit as anybody else in that division.
Okay. You heard it here first. Plus 310 right now at DK for the Falcons to make the playoffs. That's where Tyler's going on the opposite side of that. We got some more to make or to miss the playoff waiters coming your way. But first, a quick reminder that you guys don't have any plans here in about a month from now, do we have something special for you right now? That is right. July 25th, consider coming on out to Draft Night Out. That is our live fantasy football draft party at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. We're taking on jerseys once again. And if you want to come draft with us, plus 200 of our closest fantasy football friends, this is the event for you. We're going to have that shot wheel spinning again. Songs of singing. Creed might even be going on, is what I'm hearing. Me a little Creed sing along with Steve and I. And we'll also have some giveaways going off and everything in between happening out there. We're also right now running a hashtag Weekender special where you can get 10% off when you get tickets to both Draft Night Out and the IBT Classic, our golf scramble the day before. So we're going all weekend long in Canton, Ohio in just about a month from now. Link to that, of course, in the episode description, along with everything else we have going on here at FSAN. So great stuff happening over there for us, boys. Tyler, what's your go-to karaoke song? I know in a past life you used to be a musician. Do you enjoy karaoke? And what is your go-to song if you have one?
You know, I karaoke is like a every now and then type thing for me.
Okay.
Like, you know, because I did so much performing, it's like then it's like this. There's like two sides of it. There's like a pressure because I performed before. And then there's also like this side of like when I entered the fantasy sports space and like people didn't really know that about me, you know, like it wasn't a aspect of knowing it. So it's like that surprise I still have in my back pocket that I'll break out one day and it'll either be very like great for everybody or very underwhelming, but we'll break it out when it happens. But if I had to have a karaoke song, you know, it depends on the vibes, right? Like if we're partying, might sing a little Shabuzi. You know, if I want to kick back, I might do a little Zach Bryan, a little, you know, like and if I want to show off the vocals, it might be a little bit of Teddy Swims. Who knows? You know.
Okay.
So just you know, is what it is.
Yeah. Tim McGraw, Live Like You Were Dying, just because I've known that song since about 3 years old. That's one that, like, it's not the most high up vibey song, but you can get it going. Steve, number one karaoke song for you?
Losing My Religion by REM, probably.
Okay. The issue with karaoke after Draft Night Out and after the Expos, my voice is shot on Sunday. I can barely talk enough to do shows when I get back on Monday or Tuesday. So
it's tough. It's tough. You know what? Now that's such a hard question. I ask people it all the time, and it's such hard. I'm with Tyler though. It is a vibe thing. Because if I'm trying to get the party going, yeah, you got to go with something a little more up tempo. I love like Green Day. I'm a rock singer. So
okay.
I like rock, dude. If I want to like change the room and like people like, you know, you want to throw people for a loop, you might just like break out some Linkin Park or something. Be like, oh, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Something people know. Like I love Green Day for that, or I'll go like Panic at the Disco if I'm feeling really frisky. If my voice is feeling particularly strong that day,
you gotta get up in the rafters a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I gotta go up a little bit. I got a lot of vocal fry I gotta work through. So it's sometimes tricky. But if I want to go with something safe, yeah, give me Losing My Religion by REM.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Trash a couple of years ago, she brought down the house with Werewolves in London. That was great. That was a great one. I think that's the name of that song. I think it was the first time I ever heard that song, but it was really good.
I know that song.
Oh, okay.
Trash is that type though. Like she's gonna bring a song and everybody's gonna be like, I don't know if I heard this before.
She also did a Barbie Ken duet a couple years ago with Hoove, which was really well done as well. So, yeah, good stuff. The IBT, he's out there. He's out there in the streets right now. I think he's about to get married here in a couple months, actually. So, with that said, guys, let's get back into the gambling. And Steve, I'll throw it over to you first, man. Who do you like to make or miss the playoffs outside of your frisky New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm feeling positive today. I guess I have two teams that are making the playoffs, and I went back. I went to the nation's capital. Washington Commanders are gonna make the playoffs this year. That's a plus 225 bet. Listen, Jaden Daniels was hurt all of last season, and Terry McLaurin missed most of last season when Jaden Daniels was healthy. So you never had the full squad. Things were a little wonky there, but the year before that, we watched them absolutely beat the brakes off of the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Like, this team knows how to win. Jaden Daniels is a very good football player when he's healthy, and this year he's coming in healthy. I'm not going to bet against his health. We don't have enough data to show that he's an injury-prone guy. I really like the Commanders this year, especially in that division where I'm not terribly scared of the Cowboys. I'm not terribly scared of the Giants. The Eagles are certainly going to make noise and probably still going to be the best team in that division. But I could see them taking a small step back and maybe opening the door for the Commanders to sneak one of those 2 games away from them. I don't think it's going to be maybe not a division winner, but certainly one of the wild card slots I think is possible for these Commanders.
I think the biggest question marks for the commies for me is, 1, can we get out of the poop stadium here soon? We need to do that. 2, can these secondary receiving options step up? Can Chiga Kwonkwo and Antonio Williams be who I think they are, be who you think they are? Can these running backs step up? Whether it's Katron Allen in that backfield taking a rookie jump, or whether it's Bill Krosky Merritt or Rashad White redeeming themselves. We need production.
I think Rashad White is a secret weapon, and Antonio Williams. Obviously, you and I have been in on Antonio Williams ad nauseum at this point.
Yes.
But Rashad White, I think, is going to make some noise for that backfield and is so good in pass catching situations that it's a whole element of the game they didn't have last year.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. I mean, they're running out Jeremy McNipples, right? He's been crowned that nickname for a couple of years because he just keeps hanging around, right? But so I'm with you there. I think it's a really fine number at plus 225. We're going to need to see that defense improve. Hopefully, Sony Styles is kind of the guy to get that juices flowing and get him moving in that direction under a guy here in Dan Quinn who's been there, done that. So don't hate the Washington Commanders, specifically at that number. I think it's a nice little nibble. Tyler, where are you going here, staying in the same division? Another team potentially come out of the East and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess I'm just Captain Friction tonight, like with the opposite take, look, Dallas, and I'm not a Cowboys fan. Jerry Jones was a Razorback back in the day. I'm a Razorback fan. I'm sure the connections are there. Not a Cowboys fan, but you look at this team, dude, Dak threw for the most yards he's thrown for in a season in like the last 6 years, over 4,500 yards. The offense was moving. Javonte Williams exploded, even though everybody didn't know what he was going to look like coming into the season.
Yeah.
And then, the biggest question mark was the defense, right? And what they were going to do at defense. So you look at their offense, they have all of their main weapons. As far as like offensive players, that they lost Jalen Tolbert. That's pretty much it.
And George Pickens is suiting up. No holdout we're hearing now too, which is a plus.
If George Pickens stays, you got CD, George Pickens, you got a great tight end, you got Dak, you got Javonte Williams, the offensive line set is strong. And then what did Dallas do? They went into the draft, 2 first-round picks on defense, Caleb Downs, Malachi Lawrence, and the edge rusher out of UCF. Yep. Then 3rd round, edge rusher. Then, you go 4th round, cornerback, defensive lineman. Like they just continue to address the defense. Last year they went and made a big trade to bring in Quinnen Williams in on the defensive line. Like they realized their issue and they addressed it. They said, okay, let's build on this. They got their edge rusher. They got their center in their defensive line. They took one of the top corners in the draft, which was something they needed to address. And so, like, when you look at that team in a division that's kind of falling apart, like Washington, I agree, Steve. They have some great tools. They just got to put it together, and they haven't done that yet. They're still empty. They've got a lot of areas where they still have to figure it out. Eagles, it gets hard to say like Dallas making the playoffs, when you have the Eagles there, but they lost A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts seems to still be on this like downward trend where like he's dragging that offense down, and they're relying on that Georgia built defense that they have. So it's like it's kind of one of those divisions where it feels like it's anybody's game. And I think that this division specifically could be one of those where we see 2 teams make the playoffs, and I think the Cowboys could be in it. I think that they made the right moves in the offseason, and they still have enough talent there to get it done.
Yeah, I've been looking at a way to get invested with the boys from a future standpoint. I flirted around with boosting up some of those 8.5 season win totals to close to even money. They're right now at plus 110 across books for 9.5 wins. So if you think they can get there, to get almost the same number just to get in the playoffs isn't a bad, a bad situation to be in. They bring out Jalen Thompson to play safety here early on, which you love that because then you have that flexibility to move Caleb Downs probably into the nickel straight away, right? So we're solving two problems there. Rashawn Gary comes over from Green Bay. He can kind of be that steady hand, show Lawrence, hey, how do we be a professional, right? And he links right back up with his old pal Kenny Clark up there from the Wisconsin area. So I do agree with you. The Cowboys are someone I want to be invested with. I don't know how quite yet. This might be the way I go, and out of all the bets we've talked about so far, I don't have on my card. This one might be my favorite. But I do have to put you guys on to one more here, and staying in the NFC, and we're drying up some of these NFC playoff spots right now with some of these plays. So probably one or two of these teams ain't going to make it, but it's the Green Bay Packers. Yes, the Cheesehead Nations to make the postseason. I'm going on the yes side, -138 at Kalshi for me. And look, Green Bay, Jordan Love, this has been a match made in heaven, man. It's like apple pie and sweet potatoes and all the good American fixings out there right now, right? Because they've made the postseason all 3 seasons under Jordan Love here. They were 9-7-1 a year ago, and that was without Christian Watson for 7 games. Jaden Reed missed 10 games. Tucker Kraft, old Big T Kraft, he missed 9 games. Micah Parsons missed 3 games. And aside from Micah, who will probably miss 4 to 6 weeks, most of these guys should be available early and often here. By all accounts, Josh Jacobs seemingly gotten out of those legal issues. A suspension likely not looming from what I'm hearing right now out on the internet. Then they went out. They grabbed Chris McLennan. They grabbed Javon Hargrave to fill out that defensive interior, right? Because that was what you could do on the Packers. You could run on these guys last year. They're saying not so fast. They go out and get denied Dennis Sutton, a guy I love out of Penn State, another capable edge to throw in that rotation with some young guns we haven't seen as much. Brandon Cece, hell of a guy out there at South Carolina. We were talking about South Carolina on another show. This guy got left out to dry a year ago by Lenore Sellers and company. He was still one of the best cornerbacks in the country. And look at their schedule, guys, when it comes to Green Bay. Vikings on the road in week 1. Maybe Kyler Murray's first start. I'll take them. I'll be betting that money line. Jets on the road in week 2. Falcons at home in week 3. They're probably starting 3-0 or 2-1 at worst. And also, look at most of their tougher opponents. They're coming at home, coming to Lambeau Field, a place that's hard to get wins. The boys, that's going to be probably a Cowboys or a Packers -2.5 line. The Panthers, they'll probably at least be close to a 5-point favorite there. The Bills, maybe the Bills are favored, but maybe that's a pick 'em. And the Texans, I would think that we're at least giving a point to a half a point to the Green Bay Packers there. So the only thing.
No, the Texans will be favored in that game.
That's late in the season, though, and a lot of things can change there. And like, who knows how CJ Stroud is being played? Regardless, though, like the only time I see them being like dogs and more than like a field goal dogs is they're going to go to the Rams. They're going to go to SoFi. They'll probably be a half a point or at least a field goal dog, if not closer to touchdown. And then Pats on the road. They're going up to your area there that I don't love either, but. Like most books have this line at -150, -155. I've seen a -160 ticket. This is -116 at FanDuel. This is the best value on the board, in my opinion. You can talk about me drinking too much juice, whatever you want in the comments. That is a fair statement to make. But -116, fair, almost even money. I'm here for it, boys. Lambeau up.
Choose the comments. This division's wow, bro. You got like the NFC North is like all those teams are right there. Like the Bears, Packers, Lions, like when it's all wild. If Kyler Murray starts for the Vikings, we got a whole nother conundrum. Like who the heck knows what happens with this division? But like if you're riding, sure, let's ride,
I just like consistency, right? Like it's the consistency. Now
I think my fear is that Green Bay very well, if Kyler Murray does play, which I expect him to be the starter for the Minnesota Vikings, I think they could be the 4th best team in their own division.
I was high on the Vikings last year. Maybe it's because I had buyer's remorse because I had a 5-1 ticket for them to win the division when they were like. Of
course, they looked terrible. They had one of the worst quarterbacks that we've ever had to watch in the history of the NFL.
They trade Jonathan Garrard. They're not happy with that offensive line and some of those interior linemen they brought over from the Colts. Like. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. Like, and I'm a Caleb Banks guy. I like Caleb Banks, but I think going out and getting him, we'll see how he is off the foot injury that held him out of college football all last season, pretty much. Like, I just, and like, like for me, I'm not a Kyler guy. I'd rather see
You're not
JJ
a
out there.
Kyler guy, but you got enough in your book between the freaking Bears and Lions. Like, it's not like those teams are just not for.
No, but they can split. I think the Packers split those games. I think they split every divisional game, if not take. And I think they take the Vikings 2-0 because they're going to get them in week 1.
I don't think they can. And the only reason is health. Jordan Love constantly struggles with staying on the field. And if you take Jordan Love out, it's a huge question mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Malik Willis is down there starting in Miami for God knows whose reason. Like, like Miami's going to be any good. Like they basically just decided they were going to go for the number 1 overall pick. You know what I mean? Like, and he is gone. And like,
they do have Tyrod Taylor, so it's at least a veteran. I mean, they have Kyron Jones, they have Kyle McCord too, but
Tyrod Taylor will lead us to the promised land.
When that man steps on that field, like honestly, like we saw what the Chargers did to him. They were they were not happy about having him. They were like, nope, puncture that man's lung real quick.
But he's been solid when he's like I tried to bet against Tyrod I think it was last year when he was playing for the Jets and it did not go well, man. Tyrod's good at
Jameis Winston not have a job right now in the NFL?
He's too busy making commercials, man. That guy's on one right now. You kidding?
Jameis, absolutely. Like he has moved on to
make money.
Yeah, for real. He's making so much more money being a commentator.
Look, Jameis Winston he's the example. Like if you don't make it, become a personality. Yes. Tim Tebow did it. Jameis Winston's doing it. Like RG3. Let the flare fly, become a personality, and you're gonna be all right. And he's done it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's there, cashing in dubs and making that cash, even though he's not starting for an NFL roster. So
And that's what we're doing here. Couldn't make it as players, so we became personalities, baby. That's going to do it for us tonight on the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you guys so much for riding alongside us. We really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this episode, do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up if you can. And subscribe both here to the FSAN Fantasy Football Advice channel and the HQ channel so you don't miss any of our content across football, basketball, baseball, racing, and golf. Also, be sure to check out fantasyfootballadvice.com, FSANadvice.com for all the great fantasy football written content and all those other great sports written content as well. Be sure to check out right now the events as well. We have tickets right now in-betweenmedia.com/events. We'll have more on that in the coming weeks of how to get invested with that. But for the boss man, Tyler Bradley, and the Bayou Believers, Stephen Lawson, I'm Seth Wilcock. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it in between.